What's up, card family? Welcome to another edition of Double D Card Talks. This is Dustin Abraham here, and it is really cold outside here in Minnesota, but what's that smell? Is that baseball? Oh yeah, football season is over and baseball season is just around the corner. And so today on Double D Card Talks, we're going to be talking about some of the more undervalued players, the more underrated players. We're talking about guys that we think you should consider investing in, maybe buying a rookie card or an autograph, or consider adding these guys to your PC list. This is by no means a perfect list, by no means a complete list. B-Side's going to go through some honorable mentions, and there's even guys that didn't make our honorable mentions that, could have made the list. Guys like Marcell Ozuna or Brian Dozier. But anyhow, I'm gonna swing it over to Dustin Bellinger, and he's gonna talk about a couple honorable mentions, and then we're gonna get into our top 10 most undervalued players in the baseball card collecting hobby.
Hey, thanks, A-Side. Like you said, this is such a tough list to put together. With so many good players that we would have liked to have had that just can't fit into the list. A couple of quick honorable mentions. One is Lorenzo Cain, an elite outfielder. He's been in small markets all his career. If the hobby world ever really gets a grip on how good this guy is, there's a lot of room for growth with him if people start to really appreciate the numbers that he puts up. Another one, this gets into a little bit of prospecting, more than we wanted to do, and that's why he's not in this list specifically, and that is Gleyber Torres. He was out all last season with injuries, but if you were a believer in him before, you need to be again. He's coming back, and in that Yankees organization, once he makes the majors and starts to have success, those prices are going to rise in a hurry. So he's a guy, if you believe in him, you need to get on him quick. So those are our honorable mentions. And now I'm going to kick it back off to Dustin Abraham again, and we will start the actual top 10.
All right, here's the list. Number 10, we have Trey Mancini. Now, Trey Mancini had a very good rookie season, and most years he probably would have won the AL Rookie of the Year award, but we had a most unusual season where we had a lot of great rookies. Mancini hit 293, he hit 24 home runs, and both of those totals are higher than what Andrew Benintendi did. However, Mancini plays for the Baltimore Orioles, and Benintendi plays for the Red Sox, a bigger market and a much more competitive ball club. And so that's why you didn't really hear about Trey Mancini. But look for Trey Mancini to improve upon his rookie season. Look for him to have a great season in 2018 and a great career in the future.
Now, number 9 is Bryce Harper. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking Bryce Harper is already a big star. How could he possibly be on a list of undervalued guys? And I'll say, just look at what's happened with Giancarlo Stanton in the past year since the start of last season. He had a great season, and combine that with being traded to the New York Yankees, you've seen a major spike in his card prices here just in the last few months. I think that's something that you can see here with Harper. He's entering a contract season. Very good potential to be putting up some of the best numbers of his career. And then he's likely going to be signing a contract with a much more high-profile market, possibly the Cubs, possibly the Dodgers. Once that happens, I think you're in to see a big spike in his card prices. So that's why we've got Harper here at number 9.
At number 8, we have Miguel Cabrera. He's obviously later in his career, and this is going to be sort of a common theme here on our list of these future Hall of Famers that are coming towards the end of their career. But I definitely think that last season was sort of a fluky season for Miguel Cabrera. I don't expect him to have a 2018 that is as poor as his 2017. This is a guy who won the Triple Crown in 2012, and that was the first time that anybody had won the Triple Crown in batting since Carl Yastrzemski did it in 1967. So think about that. 45 years in between Triple Crown winners. Miguel is going to get 500 home runs. He's more than likely going to finish his career with a 300-plus batting average. He is definitely a future Hall of Famer. So you want to get on top of this, get some Miguel Cabrera stuff, because it's going to be a lot harder to get once he's in the Hall of Fame.
Moving on to number 7, we find our first pitcher on the list, Luis Severino. In baseball card collecting active pitchers is a lot higher risk than it is with position players. The probability and potential for season-ending or possibly even career debilitating injuries is much, much greater with pitchers than it is with position players. So you're taking in a lot of risk anytime you invest heavily into a pitcher. However, if you're taking a look at last season's statistics and the pitching war leaders, the guy that stands out in the list from a youth and potential standpoint is Severino. If you're a believer in him, this is a year that you could be looking for him to step forward from being a guy that shows a lot of potential and hype into a guy that steps into the role as a frontline starter on a playoff team. So if you're a believer in him, this is the time to start getting into his cards, because that's probably going to peak in value if he makes another step forward like he did this past season.
At number 6, we're going to go with Byron Buxton. Now, there was a point in time where you probably would have put Buxton on the opposite list of the most overvalued players. He was considered the overall top prospect in baseball, and now some people maybe consider him a bust, but I'm not ready to give up on him yet. Last year he had a miserable first half offensively, and he came back and had a great second half. The guy's got speed. He's one of the greatest defensive players in baseball right now. Mr. Terry Francona said that Byron Buxton is going to be the best player in all of baseball. Just wait and see. The guy has been in the league 3 seasons, and he's still younger than Aaron Judge. So I think he's only going to improve. He made some adjustments last year and ended up having a pretty good season. So definitely consider picking up some Buxton stuff.
Moving up here to number 5, we have Albert Pujols. We're getting into the final years of Albert's career. Albert is a surefire Hall of Famer, but what tends to happen as we get towards the later years of a player's career, we tend to forget a little bit just how great they were. The collecting desirability for them just gets replaced by some of the newer, brighter, shiny objects. But right as we get to the very end of their career and then that Hall of Fame anticipation starts to pick up, that's when you see prices start to rise. So I think right now is a time to start looking to stockpile a little bit if you can on Albert's cards, because I don't think you're going to be able to get them any lower than they are right now going forward.
At number 4, we have Adrian Beltre. Here it is again, a guy coming to the twilight years of his career, but he's obviously a surefire Hall of Famer. He already has over 3,000 hits. He still has a chance at 500 home runs. If he plays a couple more years, he might get that. He's been a great defensive player throughout his career. Surefire Hall of Famer. Pick up some stuff before it happens. Maybe pick up some stuff before he hits the 500 home run club. And he's definitely going to be one that you should consider collecting.
Moving on to number 3 on our list, we have Eric Hosmer. Hosmer is a gritty, fun player to watch, but one of the things that I think is holding him back is, in addition to being in a small market, he's also playing in a ballpark that will diminish offensive numbers to a greater degree probably than any other park in the majors. As free agent this year, there's a good chance Hosmer's going to be signing with somewhere else, and with a few tweaks to his swing, I can see a big breakout year potential on the horizon as a big possibility for Hosmer. Another big playoff run, and maybe hobbyists will really catch on to just how good of a player he is.
At number 2, we have Paul Goldschmidt. Paul Goldschmidt is a great player. He's had a very consistent career so far. He's like the epitome of a 5-tool player. He can hit for average, he can hit for power, he runs the bases well. He's a great defenseman. He can throw and he can field. But, you know, he plays for the Arizona Diamondbacks, one of the small market teams, and he doesn't get a lot of attention. Doesn't get a lot of attention from the media. He doesn't get a lot of attention in the hobby. You know, there's a possibility that he could leave Arizona after the 2018 season. Who knows? We'll see. But, I mean, this guy is off. His career is off to a great start. He very potentially could be a Hall of Famer. And, like I said, just so consistent. It's really can't miss. I mean, I don't see him his numbers drastically dropping anytime soon. So yeah, well, now let's go and see who our number 1 most undervalued player is.
Here it is. We've reached the top of the list. At number 1 is a personal favorite of mine. It's Max Scherzer. Now, Scherzer has built an impressive Hall of Fame resume, and it's likely only going to get stronger in the coming years. When people evaluate this generation of starting pitching, the list starts with Clayton Kershaw as the top pitcher of his era, but when you get beyond him, I think there is a strong case to be made that Max Scherzer is a solid number 2 on that list. If you look at what Clayton Kershaw's rookie card prices have done recently, you've seen a really high uptick in some of the more exclusive and prestigious rookie cards of his, and I think that there's a potential that you'll see Scherzer and some other pitchers potentially as well make that move as they get a little bit later in their career and people identify that they're going to be likely Hall of Fame inductees. So there's our list, and like any list, it's a little imperfect, and I'm sure there are differing opinions on some or all of these guys, actually. And maybe you've got some ideas of guys that you think should have been on our list that weren't. We'd love to hear a comment from you. Let us know who you thought we should have included and what you thought of this episode. For myself and Dustin Abraham, we will catch you next time on Double D's Card Talk.